Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to our first chapter lecture. At this point, it'd be good to have a printout of your PowerPoint or the chapter notes so that you can follow along and fill in the blanks. Or if you want to take your own notes, that's fine. Or if you're not taking any notes, that's fine too, as long as you are retaining what I am saying. Alright, so this is an introductory chapter to things and topics that we'll be discussing this semester. And first, I just wanted to talk about how biology is everywhere. You open up social media, like Facebook, Instagram, you open up Google browser, and you'll find articles about a lot of different biological factors from bacteria to global warming. And our job is to have a pretty good understanding of science to be able to evaluate the good sources from the bad sources. You want to be pretty science literate to determine for yourself, hey, is this a valid article? Should I be worried about this or not? So, biology is the scientific study of life. That's what it means. Bio means life, logic, study of. And life is structured on a scale ranging from molecular, so very, very small scale, to global, very, very large scale. So from the atom to the biosphere. And it stretches across the enormous diversity of life on Earth. So to start out with this, let's talk about the 7 characteristics of life. First one we have is living things exhibit order. So we start at cells. A lot of cells make tissues. A lot of tissues make organs. Organs make organ systems, and so on and so forth. And then another part of that is all living things are made up of one or more cells, which ties into our cell theory with organization. And we'll talk a lot about cell theory coming up this semester, pretty soon actually. Another characteristic of life is homeostasis, so maintenance of a steady state, regulation. So we sweat when our body temperature goes up, we shiver when we're cold, dogs stick out their tongues to cool down because they don't sweat, just things like that. And then a third characteristic is growth and development, which DNA controls. Then we have energy utilization. So we eat food and we use that to run a marathon. Sometimes we eat a little bit too much energy than we use, but everybody's been there, done that. A fifth characteristic is interacting with one another and the environment. Then we have living things reproduce. Enough said. Don't really have to get into that one. And then we have species evolve, so not individuals. Evolution happens over time to species, not an individual. So let's talk about ecosystems. Each organism interacts continuously within its own environment. Here we have a pond ecosystem. You see some biotic factors and abiotic factors. So biotic are living factors, bio, life. Abiotic are non-living, so A means no, so no life factors. Our abiotic factors here, we have light, heat, water, minerals, so light from sunlight, heat from the sun. We have water that all of these biotic factors are using. We have minerals in that water on land. And biotic factors, we have producers and algae. Then we have these consumers that need these producers to survive. We have decomposers that decompose the consumers or producers after they die, and it's just this big cycle. And ecology, right here, ecology, this is the branch of biology that investigates these relationships. I would consider myself an ecologist with my research on smallmouth bass and the environments they live in and all of that good stuff. If you're interested in that, I put a little bit of information about it in the discussion board. But anyways, back to chapter 1. The dynamics of any ecosystem depend on two processes: cycling of nutrients and flow of energy through the system. So you see this flow of energy. These little squiggly lines depict it. Through each level we go, we lose energy as heat. So as we go up, energy is lost, and you'll see less and less of each animal. For example, we have tons of plants. These are our producers. So tons of plants. Then we have primary consumers such as animals like rabbits, deer that eat these plants to survive. And then we have secondary consumers such as snakes, coyotes, wolves that eat these primary consumers so that they can survive, and so on and so forth. So we see a lot of plants, a little bit less of rabbits and deer, and then a little bit less of the snakes, coyotes, or wolves. And all of this cycles. So the deer eats, the coyote eats, then the deer is dead because the coyote has eaten the parts of it that it wants, and we have these consumers we have these decomposers that will decompose that consumer. And then after this consumer is decomposed, it's part of soil which the plant is in, and these nutrients will just cycle through this ecosystem. So let's move on to cells and their DNA. So cell theory, something I just mentioned. We'll touch on that here a little bit. Cell theory states that cell is the lowest level of structure that can perform all activities required for life, and that all life is made up of cells, and that all cells come from pre-existing cells. In this example, we have an animal cell right here, a plant cell right here, and we have a bacteria cell. So all organisms are composed of cells, and all cells rise from pre-existing cells.